Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to make a short little video and talk about my 3 favorite backpacking trips all time. So first up is the Pictured Rocks. This trip was really unique and just a really cool experience for me. This was my first trip into my ultralight gear. I just purchased my new ultralight pack from Superior Wilderness. Had a new tarp to try out on this trip. And still to this day, the Pictured Rocks is actually the longest hike I've ever done. It's the only through hike I've ever done. It's only like 42 miles. But this trip was super fun. It was with, of course, myself, Tim Watson, and Subaru Josh. And just the Pictured Rocks, hiking all along the Lake Superior is absolutely amazing. It's beautiful out there. You can go from walking along the cliffs, looking at the lake and the Pictured Rocks, into deep forest, some of the coolest terrain I've ever seen in my life. And the campsites there, probably the best I've ever experienced. Just tons of places for hammocks if you're a hammock guy like myself, tons of places for tents, but all the campsites have absolutely beautiful views of the lake and the Pictured Rocks all around the lake. So Pictured Rocks was a really cool place. Had a lot of fun on this trip. Check out the highlights. Okay, so next up is the high uintas in Utah. This trip is probably my favorite trip of all time because of the experience I had with the guys that I went with. I went with Subaru Josh, Tim Watson, and then we met up with Devin from Backcountry Exposure and also Will. So met some really super cool guys out there with Devin and Will. Became friends with those guys out there. And not only was Utah absolutely beautiful, just the experience of being with all those guys and hiking with them and out there in the backcountry like that really, I think, formed a bond and a friendship that was awesome. So Utah was a lot of fun, beautiful terrain, and hopefully we can get back out there sometime and maybe get Will and Devin over here on the East Coast and we can hike with them. Check out the highlights. Okay, and the last one, the Maroon Bells. This is probably the hike that has the most beautiful scenery I've ever seen. Kind of bittersweet feelings on the Maroon Bells. We went out there, myself, Tim Watson, and Subaru Josh. Well, Subaru Josh had injured his ankle on the Pictured Rocks trail. That was about a month before that. He hurt his ankle the last day hiking out. So Subaru Josh was actually in a cast going out there to the Maroon Bells. And unfortunately, Josh couldn't complete the entire trip with us. He was able to hike the first day with us. We hiked up to Crater Lake and just camped around the base of the lake there. And then that's the actual start of the 4-pass loop. So the next day, Subaru Josh had to hike back out, and he just ended up hanging out in Aspen for the week while me and Tim hiked the 4-pass loop. Now, the 4-pass loop, as far as scenery, absolutely beautiful everywhere. We were up so high, we were up 12,000 foot and above, and you could just see for miles and miles everywhere. That trip was amazing. But that's what makes this trip so cool, is the scenery there and the terrain was very, very tough. Toughest terrain I've ever hiked in. It was steep, it was long, there was 4 passes we went through, it was cold, it was wet. So that's what makes this trip the most beautiful, but also the hardest trip that I've ever done. Check out the highlights, guys. Alright, so now that you've watched all the highlights of my 3 favorite backpacking trips ever, let me know down in the comments what your favorite trips are.